Welcome to this tutorial on creating your first Lambda function. AWS Lambda is one of the most powerful serverless services that allows you to run code without managing servers. In this video, you'll learn how to build and deploy your own Lambda function from scratch. Let's get started with understanding what Lambda is and how you can create your first function step by step. AWS Lambda is a serverless compute service provided by Amazon Web Services. It allows you to run code without provisioning or managing any servers. Lambda follows an event-driven execution model, which means your code runs automatically in response to specific triggers or events. The best part about Lambda is its pay-per-use pricing model. You are only charged for the actual compute time your code consumes, measured in milliseconds. This makes it extremely cost-effective for applications with variable workloads. A Lambda function consists of 4 key components. First, the function code, which is the actual logic you write in your chosen programming language or runtime. Second, the configuration, which includes settings like memory allocation, timeout duration, environment variables, and permissions. Third, the event source, which are the triggers that invoke your function automatically, such as an API request or a file upload to S3. And fourth, the IAM role, which defines the permissions your function needs to access other AWS services securely. Creating a Lambda function through the AWS Console is straightforward. Start by navigating to the AWS Lambda service in the AWS Management Console. Once you're there, click on the Create Function button. You'll see multiple options, but for beginners, choose Author from scratch, which lets you start with a blank template. Finally, you'll need to configure basic settings like the function name and select your preferred runtime environment, such as Python or Node.js. When configuring your Lambda function, you need to specify several important settings. The function name should be unique and descriptive, for example, my first Lambda. Next, select a runtime, which is the programming language environment. Popular choices include Python 3.12, Node.js, or Java. Memory allocation can range from 128 megabytes up to 10 gigabytes. The amount of memory you allocate also affects the CPU power available to your function. Finally, set a timeout value, which defaults to 3 seconds. This is the maximum duration your function is allowed to run before Lambda terminates it. Here's a basic Lambda function written in Python. Every Lambda function has a handler function, which serves as the entry point. In Python, this is typically called Lambda_handler. The handler accepts 2 parameters, event and context. Inside the function, you write your business logic. The function then returns a response, usually as a dictionary. In this example, we're returning a status code of 200 and a simple message saying hello from Lambda. This structure is the foundation of every Lambda function you'll create. The handler function receives 2 important parameters. The first parameter is event, which contains the input data passed to your function in JSON format. This could be data from an API request, an S3 bucket notification, or any other event source. The second parameter is context, which provides runtime information and methods about the execution environment. The context object includes useful details like the request ID, memory limits, the function name, and how much time remains before the function times out. Understanding these parameters is essential for building effective Lambda functions. Once you've written your Lambda function, it's time to test and deploy it. You can create test events directly in the console to validate your function's behavior with sample inputs. After verifying your code works as expected, click the Deploy button to save and activate your function. To monitor your function's execution, you can view detailed logs in CloudWatch, which helps with debugging and performance monitoring. Finally, you can invoke your function manually through the console or configure event sources to trigger it automatically based on real-world events. And that's how you create, test, and deploy your first Lambda function.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.